Hello and welcome to the A Little Kinder channel. I am Karen and I am the everything here behind the channel. And today is Scraplift Crafternoon, where I get together with a group of buddies and we scrap lift a layout. Today we're going to be lifting a fantastic layout by Brandi Jo, known as Scrappy Boy Mama, over on socials. This is our layout. Look at how fantastic this is. This is going to be a great one to use over and over again. I am going to use some Urban Street papers and ephemera, and these are the three papers I've chosen. Originally, I thought I might put this on a white background, but have decided that I am going to go with a basil vanilla. There's also a French vanilla color, but y'all, that one just didn't work. It was way too yellow. So vanilla it is. So the first thing we're going to do in this layout is we're going to take off the branding strips, and then we're going to work on cutting all of those adorable little squares. In Brandi Jo's layout, she did have 2-inch squares. Mine are about 1.5 because I went with that paper as my background, well, it's part of the background, but as the sizing measurement. So here we're just taking the different cards that came in this kit and cutting out the ones that I want. I did go with one that's more of a title that says "And the Adventure Begins," and then a little brown one that says "Explore." Next thing we're going to do, we're going to cut all of these papers into squares. Now, y'all, I did figure out by the third piece of paper that it was so much easier to cut this 12 by 12 into 6 inches, and then 6 inches into 3 inches, and 3 inches into 1.5. Math is not my strong suit. My next step is going to be to edge every one of these stinking little squares. This really helps when you start to put things together because your squares aren't always going to be exactly right. Because, or at least I did, I cut them one at a time. So my next step is going to be to dry fit. This is where I kind of take things and lay them out onto my background and decide what I'm going to do. I did decide that this background was just kind of a little blah. So I grabbed one of the cedar house stamps, this beautiful rose, and I'm just using a light brown ink and stamping it across the right hand side of my layout. This is one of my favorite things to do when I need to add just a little something to a background. Now, as you notice when I'm stamping, there are some missed opportunities with this stamp. I am not going to worry about this because honestly, a lot of this is going to get backed up, or it's going to end up like hidden and not seen. So let's get these squares in place. Again, I'm going to kind of dry fit to see how far I need to come over. This is one of my biggest tips on a layout like this, where you're using a grid in the background, is to keep checking. And so that's that kind of dry fit where you're not sticking anything down, but you're checking to make sure you're in the right spot. Here we're just building our background. I created a pattern where those striped squares get rotated. This was kind of a really fun element. It kind of helps with the building of this background. When I get to the very end here, you'll notice that my squares hang off. I am going to trim that off here in a minute. Don't worry, they will be gone by the time we get done with this layout. This is because I have added just the teeniest little bit of space between those squares. So here, this is the last dry fit that I'm going to do before we start sticking things down. And that's because I want to check to see where my ephemera is going to go. I loved this little globe, and there were two of them. There was just the globe part, the map part, and then there was also the actual like old school elementary school globe. And so I wanted to see what both of them look like and ended up going with the more traditional school globe. Now these pictures, we haven't talked about them yet, but y'all, this is where our fifth wheel lives. We are building a shed for this thing. And so this was when we had the slab poured, and I took our puppies and we put their little paw prints in the concrete, kind of like you used to do, or I used to do when we were kids and there was a sidewalk or anything that happened, you'd stick your little hand or feet prints in it. So we did do that. I will probably end up, once we get the cover up for the shed, creating a second page to go with this layout. I may even go back to Brandi Jo's original sketch and use that to develop my second page. But here we're just sticking all of the little parts and pieces down so that they are on my layout. There goes my little heart that I love to add. We're going to snip off the edge, and here is our finished layout. I want to thank you for being with me today as we built this fantastic layout by Brandi Jo. I absolutely loved the grid in the background. I want to invite you to check out everyone's layouts that are linked below. Until we are together again in the next video, my friends, go make some memories. Bye-bye.